AITAH for cutting all contact with my family because of a prank. Hi, Reddit. I'm using a throwaway account because my sister knows my main. I never thought I'd be the one posting here, but after what happened on my 30th birthday, I can't stop wondering if I'm the problem. So here goes. I, 30 female, come from a big, loud, fun-loving family. You know the type, the ones who always pull jokes, roast each other at gatherings, and think, it's just a prank, bro, is an acceptable apology. I've always been the quiet one, sensitive, introverted, the odd one out. My parents and siblings used to joke that I was born without a sense of humor. For context, my family's pranks weren't small things like hiding your phone or scaring you with a rubber spider. They were extreme. Like the time they told my younger cousin her dog ran away when it hadn't, or when they once filled my dad's car with packing peanuts as a birthday surprise. They genuinely think chaos equals laughter. When I was a teenager, I'd cry during their jokes and they'd all laugh harder. My mom would pat my back and say, "Come on, Rachel, you need to learn to laugh at yourself." So eventually, I stopped reacting. I stopped sharing things with them. I moved out at 22, got my own apartment, and limited family visits to holidays. Over the years, I started building a life I actually liked. Quiet mornings, peace, therapy, and no one constantly teasing me about how uptight I was. But about 2 months before my 30th birthday, my mom called and said, "Sweetheart, we're throwing you a big party. Everyone's coming, even Uncle Ben. You have to come home." At first, I hesitated. I hadn't been home in a while, and honestly, I didn't want to spend my birthday being mocked for how old and serious I'd become. But she sounded so excited, genuinely excited, and said she had a big surprise for me. She even promised, "No pranks this time, I swear, we just want to celebrate you." And for some reason, I believed her. Maybe it was naive. Maybe a part of me still hoped they could be different. So I took a few days off work, bought a gift for my mom, and drove back home for the weekend. When I pulled into the driveway, everyone was already there. My parents, my older brother, my younger sister, my cousins, even my grandma, who rarely leaves her house. They all rushed out to greet me. My mom hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, saying, "We've missed you, honey. You're gonna love what we've planned." I looked around. Balloons, banners, a welcome home sign. Everything looked normal. Everyone was smiling. It actually felt nice. We spent the day catching up. My brother grilled burgers. My dad told the same old stories he always told. My sister made jokes, but nothing too mean. For the first time in years, I thought, maybe things really have changed. That night, they dimmed the lights and brought out a big cake that said, "Happy 30th, Rachel." I was smiling, almost tearing up as they sang to me. It felt like a movie moment, the kind I dreamed of as a kid but never got. And then right when I blew out the candles, my mom grinned and said, "Okay, everyone, time for your surprise." The lights went off, and that's when everything started to go horribly, horribly wrong. When the lights went out, I thought it was just part of the surprise. Like maybe they were going to bring out sparklers or something funny. But then I heard a loud crash from the kitchen, followed by my sister screaming, "Oh my God, he has the knife!" Someone yelled, "Get down!" Then I heard my dad shouting, "Call the police, call 911!" My heart stopped. I froze. Everything in me went cold. I couldn't see anything. The room was pitch black, but I heard footsteps pounding across the floor, things falling, people gasping. Then I felt a hand grab my arm and yank me backward. I screamed so loud my throat hurt. Someone whispered, "Stay quiet," right next to my ear. And then I saw it. The lights flickered back on, dim, yellow, shaky. My dad was lying on the floor, covered in blood. My brother was standing over him, holding what looked like a knife, and my mom was screaming, "Please don't hurt us!" I fell to my knees. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened so hard it felt like I was dying. I remember crying, "Dad! Dad, please, no!" My hands were shaking as I tried to grab him, but there was fake blood everywhere. And then everyone started laughing. Like full-on hysterical laughter. My brother dropped the fake knife and doubled over. My mom clapped her hands and said, "Oh my God, Rachel, you should have seen your face." I just stared at them, unable to process it. My dad sat up, still wiping off the red goop, and said between laughs, "Relax, kiddo, it's just corn syrup. We got you good, huh?" I didn't even react at first, because it didn't register that it was a joke. All I could think about was the night 2 years ago. when I'd been home alone and someone had actually broken into my apartment. That night, I'd hidden in my bathroom shaking while I heard the intruder rummaging through my kitchen drawers. I thought I was going to die. Ever since then, even small noises in the dark made me panic. And now, my family had recreated my worst nightmare. For fun! I started screaming, not angry screaming, terrified, raw, sobbing screams. Everyone went silent. Then my sister, still half laughing, said, "Oh, come on, Rachel, it's not that deep." But I couldn't stop. I couldn't breathe, couldn't stand, couldn't look at them. My whole body was shaking. My mom looked annoyed, like I was ruining the joke. She said, "You're fine, honey. It's fake. We just wanted to surprise you." I remember yelling, "You think this is a surprise? You think watching my dad fake his death is funny?" My brother frowned, finally realizing something was wrong. "Hey, Rach, calm down. It's a joke, okay?" I backed away from them all, shaking my head. I felt sick, like I was going to throw up. Then I heard my mom mutter to my dad, "See, this is why we can't joke with her. She always takes things too seriously." That broke something in me. I grabbed my bag and car keys, and without another word, I walked out. I could hear my mom shouting behind me, "Where are you going? It was just a prank." But I didn't look back. I drove away, sobbing so hard I could barely see the road. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel the whole time. I didn't stop driving until I got back to my apartment, 2 hours away. When I got inside, I locked every door, curled up on the floor, and cried until I couldn't anymore. The next day, my phone was flooded with messages. My sister texting, "LOL, you were so dramatic last night." My mom calling me ungrateful for leaving the party early. Not a single apology. Not even a, "We didn't mean to scare you." Just jokes. Just denial. That night, I blocked them all. The next few days were a blur. I didn't eat much. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my dad lying dead on the floor. I heard the screams, the laughter. I kept replaying it over and over in my head, trying to make sense of how people who claimed to love me could think that was funny. My therapist was the first person I told. When I explained what happened, she didn't even hide the horror on her face. She said, "Rachel, that wasn't a prank. That was psychological cruelty. And your reaction was trauma resurfacing, not overreacting." Hearing that broke me a little, because deep down I'd been wondering if maybe I had taken it too seriously. My whole life, my family told me I was too sensitive, that I needed to learn to laugh. So a part of me still wondered if I was wrong, if I was just the one who couldn't take a joke. But then my therapist asked, if someone pointed a fake gun at you, or faked someone's death, would you call that humor? No, of course not. It was messed up. And it wasn't the first time they'd hurt me. It was just the first time I finally saw it for what it was. Meanwhile, the texts from my family didn't stop. Mom, you really embarrassed us last weekend. Sister, I can't believe you left without saying goodbye. We worked hard on that prank. Brother, okay, maybe it was a bit much, but you didn't have to ghost us. Every single message made me feel smaller and smaller, like I was somehow the villain in all of it. After a week of silence, my dad finally called me. He said, "Rach, I think you owe your mom an apology. You really hurt her feelings by overreacting like that." I remember just staring at the phone in disbelief. Apology? For what? For having a panic attack? I told him, "Dad, I thought you were dead. I thought someone was killing you in front of me. You don't get to call that a prank." He sighed and said, "You gotta stop living in the past, honey. That break-in was 2 years ago." And that's when I realized they didn't just lack empathy. They lacked basic respect. After that call, I went completely no contact. No texts, no calls, nothing. It was like a wall went up inside me. I muted every family group chat, blocked numbers, and started focusing on myself. Therapy became my safe space. My therapist helped me unpack years of being laughed at, dismissed, and told I was too emotional. She told me something that stuck. Rachel, boundaries aren't punishment. They're protection. And that became my mantra. For the first time in my life, I realized I didn't have to keep subjecting myself to their cruelty just because they were family. But of course, peace never lasts long when guilt starts creeping in.
After a month of silence, my mom sent me a long email. The subject line read, "Enough is enough." She wrote, "We're family, Rachel. You don't cut off your parents over a little misunderstanding. Everyone thought it was funny except you. You've always been too dramatic. You're hurting us by refusing to talk." I read it twice, then 3 times. Not once did she say sorry. Not once did she acknowledge what that prank did to me. Just blame. Just gaslighting. I didn't reply, but I'll admit the guilt lingered. Because cutting off your own family, no matter how toxic they are, hurts. There were moments when I would scroll through old photos of us, smiling, celebrating, hugging, and I'd think, was it really that bad? But then I'd remember my mom's voice saying, "You always ruin everything with your feelings." And that guilt would melt back into clarity. It's been a few months since that night. I still jump at loud noises, I still can't watch horror movies, and I still haven't spoken to my family. Sometimes I wonder if they even understand what they did. Or if they still sit around laughing about how Rachel freaked out again. Either way, I'm done being the punchline.
After about 2 months of silence, I thought maybe, just maybe, my family had finally understood that I needed space. I was wrong. It started with my brother. He texted me out of nowhere one afternoon. "Hey, Mom's been crying over you for weeks. Can you please stop being stubborn and just call her?" I ignored it. Then my sister messaged me in the family group chat, "You've made your point, Rachel. You're mad, but ghosting us for months? That's cruel." And then my mom chimed in, "We're a family, not enemies. You're the only one making this bigger than it needs to be." Reading that made my stomach twist, because in their eyes, I wasn't hurt. I was difficult. In their eyes, my silence wasn't healing, it was punishment. And in typical fashion, they painted themselves as the victims. For weeks, I stayed quiet. I didn't respond. But the messages didn't stop. They just got nastier. My aunt texted, "Your mother raised you better than this." My cousin wrote, "It was just a joke. Get over yourself." Even my grandma, who I adored, left a voicemail saying, "Sweetheart, your mom's heartbroken. Can't you just forgive and forget?" Forgive and forget, as if forgiveness was a light switch I could just flip on and off. I sat there one night staring at all their messages, my phone lighting up with guilt from every direction, and something in me finally snapped. I opened the family group chat, took a deep breath, and started typing. I didn't care if they called me dramatic. I didn't care if they mocked me. I just needed them to hear me, really hear me, for the first time in my life. Here's what I wrote. "You all keep saying it was just a prank, but do you know what it felt like for me? It felt like I was reliving the night someone broke into my apartment, the night I thought I was going to die. You made me watch my dad pretend to be stabbed to death while everyone laughed, and when I broke down, you called me dramatic. That's not family. That's cruelty. You say I'm punishing you, but I'm not. I'm protecting myself. For 30 years, you've laughed at my feelings, dismissed my pain, and called it humor. Well, I'm done being your punchline. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you either. And until you can see what you did wrong, really see it, I can't be part of this family anymore." I hit send. Then I put my phone down, shaking. For a few minutes, there was silence. Then my sister replied with a single message. "Wow, way to make yourself the victim as always." That was it. That was the moment I knew there was no fixing this. I left the chat and blocked everyone. 10 minutes later, I got a screenshot from a mutual cousin. Apparently, my sister had posted my entire message in a family Facebook group captioned, "Rachel's having another meltdown. Guess therapy isn't working." My hands went cold. I just sat there in my apartment staring at my screen, at my pain, being turned into entertainment again. They hadn't changed at all. If anything, they'd only proven exactly why I had to walk away. That night, I cried. Not because I regretted what I said, but because I knew what it meant. It meant the little girl inside me who still hoped they'd change had to finally give up. I deleted every contact, every thread, every trace of them from my phone. And for the first time in my entire life, it felt like I could finally breathe. It wasn't relief exactly, more like grief wrapped in freedom. Because walking away from your family isn't about anger. It's about mourning the version of them you wished existed. It's been 6 months since that night, and sometimes I still feel that ache, the one that whispers, maybe I went too far. But then I remember that every single time I cried growing up, they laughed. In the night I needed compassion most, they turned my trauma into a birthday party. So no, I don't feel guilty anymore. I feel safe, and that's something they never gave me.